I'm heading out, man. You want to ride?
No, I got my car, but I actually really need to go to the bathroom.
Dude, are you okay?
I am definitely buzzed.
Yeah.
I think I will take this, and I will take that ride home.
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway. Tonight, the National Racing Network is proud to be bringing you round number 1 of season number 4 of the Sim Racers Club Premier Series. My name is Chris Graham. It's a pleasure to have you hanging out with us here this evening. And joining me in the booth tonight, hailing from Long Island, New York, Mr. Patrick Byrne. I'll tell you what here, Bizzle, we're looking at maybe not the longest entry list ever, but that may oftentimes makes for really good racing here at the plate tracks because everybody knows you got to be just the slightest bit careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a selective list of drivers in the field makes everyone race cleaner. And especially a league like this where these guys are racing the same people week in, week out, they know who's cool, they know who to bump, they know who not to bump. And most importantly, they know if they wreck somebody, they're going to be hearing about it for the next couple of weeks. So everyone wants to keep it clean here. Yeah,
that's one of the big things here is that the cleanliness of this league is actually pretty incredible. Taking a look over the league history, this is 4 seasons worth. Jeff Ward has the fewest number of incidents of any driver that has 10 or more starts. He's got only 33 incidents in the course of 4 seasons, for 33 incident points. It's absolutely insane. Jared Mogard at 2.4 incidents per race. We're really talking about a very, very clean series is what we're going to see here out of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, when I 0x a race, it's an accomplishment. Usually in a race, you get a 1x here or 1x there, and to average only 30 or so over 4 seasons is just absolutely fantastic.
Have to say a huge thank you to the fine folks over at Custom Paints and Designs and SimSpeedShop.com for their support of the Sim Racers Club and for helping pay the bills and put on tonight's Daytona 100. Following along with Richard Fletcher, he's going to be he will be the first car to come across the start-finish line and start the timing beam here. Solo car qualifying at Daytona sometimes can feel like watching paint dry. However, it really is important. Maybe not as much with a little bit shorter of a field. You want the good pit stall. You want to start up front here and try to control your own destiny a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You want that front pit stall is absolutely very important, but you also want to be either at the very front or the very back. These guys, they're either going to be dumping their qualifying runs or trying to get that pole. Anywhere in the middle is almost certain death. In a league like this, I am not personally super familiar with these guys, so I don't know what it's going to be like. However, most of my races at Daytona or Talladega usually end up with death in the middle of the field within the first 5 laps, so you definitely want to avoid being there.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that people kind of try to avoid here is being stuck in the middle somewhere. Seeing Johnny Avila coming in to the top of the speed charts. Get the numbers up here on the screen. 48.297 seconds. 48.297. 186.347 miles per hour. The quick time there for Johnny Avila. You're going to get to see the timing tower do all sorts of dancing here tonight. Green means the driver's moved up a position. If they turn red, it means they've moved down a position. You're going to see a ton of that all night. Lap number 2 on the board for Richard Fletcher does not go quicker. Johnny Avila across the line. He does not improve as well. 48.297 going to be the lap of record for the pilot of the number 63 out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
This is really interesting for me to see with these new Gen 7 cars. They're setting their faster time in the first lap. With all of the old stock cars, it used to be out lap, run the high line, first lap, run the very, very high line, and then your second lap, you dive down on the banking through the tri-oval and run that yellow line the whole way around, and that's how you would get your pole time. But here it seems like everyone is much faster on their first lap, and then second time out, it's just the car slows down. So I wonder what's causing that. I might have to take a few laps myself after this race is over and see exactly what the reason for that is.
Definitely interesting to see. Tyler Seville coming in. He is currently 4th quick at a 48.237, 186.231 miles per hour. We'll pick up the 23 of Jason Franks out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Franks Racing Wawa Will's Eye Hospital entry. We're going to talk a lot about this car. We are big fans of the Wawa up here. Well, I mean, I'm from Philly, the home of Wawa. Bizzle, you got a thing for Wawa too here, so a lot of airtime for the 23 this season.
Yeah, being from Long Island, obviously we don't have Wawa here, but anytime I travel, I am not paid by Wawa to say this, but I do stop at a Wawa, got to grab myself a hoagie. It's absolutely delicious, and if you're ever in the area, you see a Wawa, stop in. It's delicious.
Yes. I can't believe we're doing plugs for Wawa at this point. Frank's lap number 1 across the board. He's going to be 5th quick. 48.376 seconds. 48.376 at 186.043 miles per hour. The lap time for Jason Franks. Waiting on Tony Patton and Richard Smith to come out and take their lap times. Couple of Canadians here. Patton out of Wendover, Ontario. Smith out of Val-de-Mont, Quebec. Will be the last 2 drivers to take time here. Michael Whiting only getting 1 lap in, and he's in at a 58.636. So obviously issues for that car. One of the things that we really have to keep in mind here too, Patrick, is the fact that these guys don't have much room to play with here. No backup cars. It should be a 2-stop race, but you've only got 3 sets of tires available to you. There's a lot that really goes into the thought process here of you have to stay clean.
And a lot of this stuff, especially the tire strategy, is going to be a huge risk for these guys. With this being a very, very new car, it's not like there's guys who have 5 years of experience in it and know, I can take no tires here on the final stop. These guys have no idea what's going to happen to this car. Taking 2 tires, taking 4 tires, taking no tires. They don't know if the car is going to spin the tires or even lose it going into turn 1. So no matter what they do, it's going to be tough.
Nikki Worsler, we were warned about this. Nikki Worsler already blowing up the chat. Thank you very much, Nikki. We appreciate it. Want to remind everybody who's watching, or actually tell you about it, since a lot of you are going to be first-time viewers here at the National Racing Network. We have a pretty cool program, the NRN Give Back. Basically, 10% of any Super Chats, memberships, contributions via Venmo, PayPal, all that kind of stuff that you do to support us, we're turning around and giving back to the drivers at the conclusion of the season. Minimum that we're going to give back here is going to be $50 to this league, and that's going to go also. We also give a little bit as a credit to the league owners as well. Helps them pay the bills next season. But yeah, so if at minimum a $50 award going to go out at the end of this 10-race season. So we're going to.
If you like,
go ahead, bud.
If you like the show, I mean, don't just give money just to give us money. You're giving money to the drivers and having us be able to put on this show and have you watch them go around this track or any other track and help them keep going for seasons to come.
Absolutely.
It's
so
my line.
We're gonna drop an ad in here real quick on YouTube and on Twitch because qualifications are just about ready to wrap up here. So We want to make sure you're not missing anything here, and by dropping the ad now, we can get it out of the way before racing gets started. Seeing the question coming in here from Nikki Worsler. How do you do that? Towards the bottom here at the comment screen, there should be a little box with a $sign in it. You can send super chats that way. And also, PayPal or Venmo at National Racing Network will get the job done as well. One of the things that we've looked at here, at least I've spent the better part of a day looking at here, prepping for the series here, looking over some of the old stats, some of the old numbers. The defending champion of this league, Greg Evans, finishing 37 points ahead of Michael Trobach, Scott Eckhart, Tyler Seville, and Adam Yursky. 4 of those 5 drivers are not running in the race here tonight, Patrick. Really sets up a wide open field as we look ahead here to really the whole season.
Oh, absolutely. If you have some of your top guys missing the first couple races of the season, maybe due to, going on vacation with the family, I know a lot of people like the snowbird during the winter months, it could really shake points up later in the season with those guys trying to catch up. I mean, in the real world, we saw Kyle Busch do it back in 2015, but it's a real challenge. You got to hit your marks every week coming after this.
So it looks like Richard Smith and Tony Patton will not qualify here this evening. And I'll tell you what, looking at the numbers here, how about a strength of field of 2472, and with one exception, all upper-level A-class licenses. It really tells you there's some very good drivers here. Johnny Avila at a 54-53 I rating. That's a lot of talent and a lot of guys who know what they're doing in these cars until they drop the Gen 7, and now it's sort of, oh my God, all hell's breaking loose.
Yeah, like I said, this is a brand new car. Nobody knows what to do with it. I'm going to guess the higher I-rating drivers are going to be able to more quickly adapt. These are the guys more experienced with iRacing. For those of you who are tuning in, not familiar with the I-rating system, about 1,500 is just your entry-level, getting into it kind of driver. Below that is, your rookies, your guys who have no idea what they're doing on track. You get above 2,000, that's your above average. And you hear guys with 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, those are the guys we like to call aliens. They are unreasonably fast. They are unreasonably talented. And every bit of respect goes out to those guys because not only have they worked for years to get up to that level, they just blow the competition away on track.
Getting the last couple of cars on the grid here, so let's get you the starting lineup for tonight's Sim Racers Club Premier Series opener at Daytona. On the front row, out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the number 63 of Johnny Avila. And on the outside, New Johnsonville, Tennessee's Will Worsler, and the Will Worsler Racing Ford. Row number 2 will have the 14 of Alliance, Ohio's A.J. Digby. And on the outside of row number 2 will be the 11 of Clearwater, Florida's Tyler Seville. Jason Franks will line up third out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the number 23 Franks Racing entry. And to his outside, the number 45 of John Eckhart, the fourth. Row number 6 will have the 24 of Carlos Acosta, a native of Lima, Peru, now residing in Miami, Florida. And on the outside, the 41 of Dallas, Texas, Tim Knott. Row number 5, the 28 of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania's Troy Haight. And on his outside, the 43 of Thomasville, North Carolina's Will Worsler Racing, entry belonging to Richard Fletcher. Row number 6, the 17 of Mooresville, North Carolina's RS Custom Paints, Famucci Wear, Desert Hobbies, Ford Mustang of Kevin Stone. And on the outside, piloting the number 10, Charlotte, North Carolina's Tyler Klinker in the Indian Trail Racing entry. Row number 7 will be the 44 of Michael Whiting. And on his outside, we talked about him a little bit here, Wendover, Ontario, Canada's Tony Patton. Rounding out the field tonight will be the number 15 of Canada's Richard Smith. A lot of Canadian representation here as we get set to roll for 100 laps around the Daytona International Speedway. Pole position number 7 on the career for Johnny Avila tonight. The guy certainly knows how to get it done, and we're going to get it done for you right here. Fields off of 4, green flags in the air. We are underway here at Daytona. Trouble, one car spinning down hard into the inside retaining wall, down the back straightaway. Caution flag is out. That's going to be Jason Franks. Sorry to cut you off there, Patrick.
Car.
I know. You talk about the guy, the commentator's curse out here in a very big way to start things off.
Doesn't look like that car is too banged up. You buy a little bit of duct tape from Wawa, patch that left rear right back up, and he'll be going around this racetrack once again. Oh, just a bad shunt and gets sent down into the inside retaining wall.
Yeah, that was a pretty big hit on the left rear of these cars. It'll be interesting to see now at this point, what do the damage repairs look like? That is absolutely going to be quite frankly, a huge component of this. As we watch the 23 make his way down pit lane, got the big shove, and with no backup car, this is not how you want to start a 100-lap race.
No, however, it is better to have these kind of issues early, especially this early, because you can still recover from them. If you have an issue like this, lap 99, your race is over. It's just a waste of the last 99 laps. But at least now you have something to at least try and recover from. It's all damage control now.
So we'll see how long the pit stop and pit repairs are going to take as Johnny Avila leads the field behind the iRacing safety truck off of turn number 4. Looks like Jason Franks will go at least 1 lap down here, depending on what the length of the repair is. And that's something that we really don't have an indication of yet here, Patrick, is what are the repair lengths going to be like?
I was going to say, it looks like he's leaving the pits now. He's going to go and circle back around. It's a typical strategy in NASCAR where you get some damage, pace car starts entering that tri-oval, you leave the pits, full speed all the way around the track, re-enter the pits, get some more of that damage taken care of. Just try and keep yourself from going a lap down. It might take him another caution or two to get it fully fixed, but hopefully he'll have a mint race car by the end of this one. Or at least as close to mint as that team is going to get it.
I say Carlos Acosta getting some damage repair done as well. That was the car that I believe made contact with Franks down the back straightaway. So we'll see how this one's going to play out here. But several cars electing to come down pit road. Here's where things are going to get really interesting, Patrick. We're hearing anywhere from 34 to 37 laps. That should theoretically make for 2 even stops. However, it doesn't factor in the 3 green-white checkered attempts. Could stopping here at lap 3 buy you that little bit of fuel you need late in the race?
I'm not sure it will, just because everyone here likes to pit in sequence. So you never want to be just a lone car pitting 3 laps after everyone else, because you're going to get lost. Everyone else is going to be in the draft, and they're going to pull away from you. So trying to get off strategy like that is incredibly risky here. Now, if you don't mind, I just want to see Carlos Acosta's car again. If we can get a shot of the front of that car, it looks like they fixed most of that front end damage. I'm wondering, yeah, that car looks almost new. With these new composite bodies, I wonder if they can just kind of change out the whole front clip or at least bang them back into shape a lot better than they could with the Gen 6 car. The Gen 6 car, remember, they would just tear off the whole nose of that car if you got front end damage. Thing would look like a Tour modified running around the track.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I know it's applicable in the real world. You have to have the panel, and you can't change the panel. So that's something that we're going to see come into play in a very, very big way in the real-world NASCAR season. Not entirely sure how that's going to play out here on the iRacing side of things. Definitely something for us to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
I was going to say, it looked like they just drew a whole new nose on that car because just about all of the paint damage, if not all of the paint damage, is gone.
Yeah, it looks like the hood's pushed up just a little bit.
Yeah, so you can even see the seams in the bodywork where that new front bumper went on. So I'm wondering if maybe in 2022 there was going to be a rule change where you are allowed to change the front and rear clip of the car.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Definitely having some drivers that are now off strategy, making pit stops all the way up here to lap number 4. Lap 3, the official lap of the pit stop. Field is doubled up. We are getting ready to go side by side, restarting here at the World Center of Speed. Johnny Avila and Will Worsler on row number 1. AJ Digby, Tyler Seville on row 2. John Eckhart, Troy Haight on row 3. Tim Knott, Kevin Stone, row 4. Row 5 will be Tony Patton and Richard Fletcher. Green flag back in the air. We are underway once again. Seeing Noble Warrior checking into the comments. It's our first race with these guys. Tell us how to say the names and we'll get them right here for you.
That 23 car, or excuse me, not 23. I'm getting all my numbers now. He looked like he had a very, very bad start coming off there. Almost like he had third gear selected instead of second or something silly like that. One thing to note with these new next-gen cars as well is they're not a full stick shift like the old Gen 6 cars were. These are a sequential transmission. You just pull back on the stick and it'll select the next gear. No clutch work or anything. So being in the wrong gear is a little surprising here.
Starting to see the 28 of Troy Haight trying to make the outside lane work around Kevin Stone. 2 cars. I'm a little surprised here. Starting to see a little bit of power on the outside lane. Top 4, all single file, breaking away out to, we'll call it a 3-car length lead over Tony Patton. Now everybody getting single file. Patton and Smith, 2 cars that started towards the back of the pack here, both of them up 9 spots very early in this race. But there are also 2 cars that have pitted as well here early.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing I'm noticing about these new next-gen cars is they're racing a lot like they did in the 80s and 90s. They're all single-file, nobody's really bump drafting, but I'm noticing a lot of big runs coming from behind. It almost seems like you can now get work done with a single car just passing another car and making your way through the field that way, which is going to be fantastic to see for the future. It's almost like AJ Digby can just go and pass the leader if he really wanted to without any help from behind, which wasn't possible for the last 10, 15 years.
Will Worsler making the move up on the outside of the racetrack with Tyler Seville all over his rear bumper. However, these cars run side by side like this. Highly likely they're going to lose the draft to the cars ahead.
I was going to say, after that second line form, it just seems like that whole backpack is now pretty much getting driven away from by that front pack.
Yeah, that's the one part of the next-gen car that has me a little bit concerned is when you start talking about the tapered spacer racing. We can't call it plate racing anymore, but you get the big gaps here. If you get out of line, you're going to lose the draft if you're running side by side. Really kind of forces that outside lane to develop, get the pass made, and then get back in line.
Yeah, like I said, it looks a lot like we saw in the 80s and 90s once they started putting the restrictor plates on the cars.
And I'll tell you what, these guys had a heck of a run to catch up to them. So these cars obviously punching a big fat hole in the air as the 17 of Kevin Stone makes the look up to the outside. Going after 5th place, Tony Patton. Worsler just set the quick lap of the race at a 45.63. No surprise that they're quicker than they were in qualifying. They've got the draft to work with now.
Kind of looks like that outside line is starting to get something. Maybe they were just checking up before. And obviously, I've never watched a race with these cars before, so...
Oh man!
One getting shoved down to the inside. Below the yellow line, he's going to have to check up and try to get back in line as soon as possible. Man.
That was Tyler Seville getting a whole bunch of left side love into the tri-oval. Good Lord.
Now,
show you that one again on the Hot Shoe Racewear Instant Replay.
Oh, man. Just gets bumped and sent out of shape. Now, one thing I'm seeing, the two cars that were involved in the lap 1 incident, Carlos Acosta, he's up to 8th. Now, he is in the draft pack, so I wonder if it has something to do with that. But Jason Franks, he has not been able to keep the draft. He's actually about halfway behind the leaders right now. So, I'm half wondering if that's just a draft, or half wondering if they got Carlos Acosta's car all fixed up and he's driving a mint condition car at this point.
Yeah, we could take a look here at Jason Franks. Poor guy is all out on his lonesome, and at this point, he's got no help and nowhere to go. Leaders are going to swallow him up very, very quickly here. Like you said, still about a half a lap behind. However, lap times at the front, 46 into the 40, even high 45-second range. Last lap time for Jason Franks, 49.58. It just shows you how powerful of an effect that the draft still has in these cars.
So they're checking off 2 seconds lap faster with 46-second laps. I give it maybe another 10 laps before they're actually at his bumper and passing him.
Yeah, and then he's just going to be a sitting duck. He's going to just have to hope he can get in line, basically in between these two packs.
That would be optimal for him, and that would leave him as the first car lap down. Hopefully he can get his lap back and try to save some of what this race is. Like I said, for him, it's just going to be damage control at this point. So if he can try and get a couple positions, couple lucky dogs, couple cars getting wrecked out, put behind him, it might not end up being a bad points day for him. He's just got to keep his head in the game.
A lap ago, Troy Haight was 8-10 car lengths back in what appeared to be almost out of the draft. And then that second line started to get the run. That's exciting if we're going to see these cars able to make up big, big gaps just getting single file.
Yeah, I was skeptical of the next-gen car at first, but after seeing these guys wheel them around this speedway, it almost makes me want to start watching NASCAR again.
I mean, let's talk about some of the differences here. The Gen 7 car, or the next gen, whatever you want to call it, is a completely different race car from the Gen 6 and every car that has preceded it in the history of NASCAR. Independent rear suspensions, really based almost off the Australian supercars platform. They're very similar, at least. There's a lot of differences here. About the only thing that stayed the same is the motor on these cars.
For 2022, yes, the motor is staying the same. However, for 2023, they're going over with dual overhead cams, so no more push rod engines, dual overhead cam, high revving, small displacement V8, and that is going to be fantastic to hear these things scream like F1 cars going around the track. But yeah, these cars, another huge thing about these cars, they have a big ginormous diffuser coming out the back of that car. You can almost see it if we get some of the rear shots of these things. Maybe next time we're under caution, just take a look under that rear bumper. You'll see all the fins coming out there. And that is actually what creates most of the downforce on these cars. It's no longer the spoiler. Excellent. Right there, you can see it on the back of that 14 car. that is what creates most of the downforce of these things. So no longer do you have all that dirty air when we get to the 1.5 miles and the mile-long tracks and road courses. So these cars will be able to follow a lot closer and basically build up a nice big pack with tons of passing just about anywhere these guys go.
Still running a little bit side by side here towards the back of the pack. Top 5 all in line. That 5th place car of Tony Patton still up 9, but it almost seems like he starts to, when they get side by side behind him, he loses a little bit of the draft of the cars in front of him. That's really interesting to watch.
I wonder if when you're getting too close to the car in front, you're actually pushing air onto their rear spoiler and slowing them down that way, or just taking air off the diffuser and creating a huge big bubble of drag behind them. I would love to see one of these cars in a wind tunnel, or even 2 of these cars, and see what they do in the draft, actually with all the visual cues right there in front of you.
We'll get to see some of that, I think, this week with a test at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Looking forward to that rescan coming to the iRacing platform here. I would imagine pretty early in 2022 Season 2. Typically, they have it ready in time for the NASCAR cars to head there in the real world. And Atlanta kicking off the season fairly, back to being fairly early on the schedule here, I believe. So.
Yeah.
The other track we're going to see here in the next couple of weeks, I would assume, at least once the paving is done, the Los Angeles Coliseum sounds like it'll be coming to iRacing as well.
And I am super excited for that one. Not only to race these, but just about anything else there. As we see the 29 car looking high, trying to make something happen up there. But the Los Angeles Coliseum, it's going to be a true quarter-mile track. We don't have a true quarter-mile asphalt bull ring on the surface. So just having a true, real, tiny short track, even if it's in a big Coliseum, is going to be an absolute blast to race on.
That's Will Worsler making the move up to the high side, trying to get around that 86 of Tony Patton.
It looks like his car is a handful. I don't know if he's having trouble holding that line and just trying to see where the air is moving, or if he just keeps trying to duck behind them, get a little bit of a run, and make a move past them.
It almost seems like you just need a little bit of air to get the pass made. And the other thing that these guys were talking about a lot in practice was the fact that these cars do not side draft the way the old Cup cars did. You can really get them out of shape very, very quickly with just a little bit of that side draft.
Yeah, I think one thing I was noticing is there's no more shark fin going down the back rear windshield. Rear windshield. So when you get bent out of shape, there's no cushion of air that's going to push you back in the line and catch that car for you. It's going to be all you behind that wheel. And going 200 miles an hour around this track, it is very hard to catch that. Even the top drivers, if we've seen Austin Dillon, I think he's wrecked 3 of these next-gen cars now, if not more. One of the top drivers in NASCAR. I mean, he drives in the Cup Series, and even he is having trouble driving one of these things. So I'd imagine these things are a real handful.
It'll be 1/5 of this race gone when they get back to the start-finish line. Oh, man, little bit of contact there at the entrance to turn number 3. Worsler shoved up the racetrack by Taylor Klinker.
And as we see right on the money, like I said, 10 laps later, we are starting to catch Jason Franks. You can see him at the front of your screen here. He is moving up to the high side, nice and courteous. Let's see if he can find a spot back in line and catch back into that draft and keep himself only 1 lap down.
The couple other cars that are really, really slow here at this point, Richard Fletcher and Tyler Seville, both being scored 17 seconds behind your race leaders. And Troy Haight has also lost the draft. He's back there now, 6.5 and rapidly approaching 7 seconds back.
And we can see some of these guys starting to get antsy. I mean, I see cars diving down to the inside, cars diving to the high side at the same time. Nobody knows which lane to pick, which one's going to move up to the front.
Yeah, at this point, it feels like a game of don't give up your track position as Wursler going to move to the outside of Patton. It looks like he's going to have him clear off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. But he's not clear inside.
One thing I'm really liking that I'm seeing is moving up to the high side and trying to get that run done on the high side doesn't really have the risk of getting freight trained. He looks to be staying right about where he was. He's made up a couple positions, and it doesn't look like that inside line has a huge advantage on him. And there's only 3 cars in that outside line.
Certainly starting to bode well a little bit here for the outside lane and what we may see towards the end of this race. Oh, almost a little bit of contact there. That was the 41 of Knott and the 10 of Clinker making contact at 2.
Car making his move. 14 and 29 go to the front of the field. Johnny Avila is going to come back. He's going to try and secure that position back, but it's not going to happen. Wursler's still got that second place. He's made his way all the way to the front on that high lane.
That's impressive. That is a very, very strong run out of Will Wursler to get that car up back to the head of the field. John Eckhart moving up to the 4th position. Taylor Clinker does not have any help, and that's about the one instance where I think you may see someone start to get freight trained a little bit. He's able to slot in line just ahead of the 86 of Tony Patton.
Everyone seems to have calmed down, all single file now.
Yes, keeping things in order here. Love all the comments that are coming in, by the way. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out and spending part of your Wednesday night with us. We'll be here for the next 10 weeks covering the entirety of the Sim Racers Club Premier Series. They also run a kind of a developmental league on Monday nights utilizing the cars of the NASCAR Truck Series. So as drivers advance, basically you have to drive your way out of that series to even get cleared to race here in the Cup Series. So we're likely to see field sizes expand here as the course of the season goes on, which, quite frankly, I think is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, having a lower series is amazing because you can open it up to everyone. Anyone can sign up. You prove yourself. You know how to drive. You know how to race. You can go up into the top series. If you come in there and you can't hold the line, you end up causing a wreck every single time you're on the track. You don't have to make it up to the top series. It keeps top series exclusive and keeps all the drivers in order, which I just love to see because these guys have been putting on a fantastic show. I mean, where else on iRacing you see guys racing like this and not having a caution every 5 laps?
Yes, that part I will wholeheartedly agree with. Getting close to that window of where drivers are going to have to make their first pit stop. The numbers that we were hearing from some of the drivers was that 34 was pretty safe, 35 was pretty safe, 36, 37 you were really starting to push it in terms of fuel economy. So we're only about 10 laps from having to see green flag pit stops, and that can absolutely implode this field because all it takes is one mistake getting onto pit road from 200 mile an hour down to pit road speed limit. That's not easy to do, especially when everybody's in a line like this.
Not only that, but how many of these guys have experience with this next-gen car trying to woe it down on the pit road at this track? Are we going to see some rear tire lockups, some cars going around, or are we going to see an absolutely flawless sequence of events unfold here in the next 10 laps?
Going to be fun to watch for sure, but we didn't get a lap in at the start, so what do you think, fans? We'll shut up for a minute, give you all a chance to crank it up. Taylor Klinker once again just absolutely boat anchored out here. Nowhere to get back in line. That number 10 machine going to fall all the way to the back of the lead pack. Only cars behind him at this point, Richard Fletcher, Tyler Seville, and Troy Haight. They're all running close together and in the draft. I just don't know that they're going to be able to make up the time here. They may need some help with the sequence of pit stops that's coming up here pretty shortly.
I don't even think that can help them at this point. I think they might need the help of a caution. Klinker's already back up to the 9th position, trying to make some more moves on the high side. He keeps dropping like a rock and then coming right back up through the field. So I wonder if he's just playing the game of see what my car can do early, see what I can do early, and then when the time comes and it actually matters, come to that checkered flag, he knows what he needs to get done.
Yeah, it's almost like he gets too good of a run on corner entry into turn number 1 and has to bail out to the outside. You don't want to drag the brakes, even the slightest bit in this car, or lift for that matter. But you look at where he is right now, he'll be right back up on the rear bumper of Acosta by the time they get to turn 1.
He's there now. He's going to get 2. Is he going to get 3 by the time they enter turn 1? No, he's going to get 2. Can't make it back down to the inside line. That's the only thing that's hurting him right now, is there's just no gaps for him to really slot into. As he looks to have some help coming out to the high side, and his help leaves him. Oh, that is the worst feeling as a driver. You have someone pull up right in front of you, you go, yeah, we're going to the front. And they just kind of disappear back into the field of cars.
Yeah, that was Richard Smith pulling out a line here. And taking a look back to the front, we're getting close here. You're gonna see a big dive when these cars head towards pit road.
Now, being unfamiliar with the series, I have no idea who's alliance with who, and what everyone's going to try. Is the whole field kind of talking to each other and letting each other know when they're all pitting? Or are there different teams here that are going to say, we're going to pit on lap 34, we're going to pit on lap 35, and you're going to end up with 2 different packs of cars here on this track?
Well, it's an interesting thing to bring up here, Bizzle, because the Will Worsler Racing and the Synergy Esports teams are fairly closely aligned here. In fact, 6 drivers all sitting in the same Discord channel right now. That's Tyler Seville, AJ Digby, Carlos Acosta, Will Worsler, Richard Fletcher, and Johnny Avila. They can coordinate with each other when they want to come into the pits. But the rest of these drivers that are in this lead in the lead pack, they're not having that same conversation.
And of course, those 6 can always fake everyone out. They can always say over the Discord, yeah, we're going to fake it out in lap 35, call it out over the in-game chat, and go, yeah, we're pitting on lap 35. Everyone else dives in, and they all stay out in their nice big pack and wait till lap 36 to come down. Kind of a dirty tactic, but when you have a team that is that big and that strong, you can make those kind of moves.
Take a look here. Let's go on board with John Eckhart. You can hear him. He's at mostly full throttle, but that car is not at the top of the RPM range.
Yeah, I believe this engine can safely rev out to about 9,000 RPM. Now, one thing I'm wondering, is this series a fixed setup series or an open setup series?
That's a good question. I believe it is a fixed setup series.
So if it's a fixed setup series, they might have just left that in there so these guys can, you know, have room overhead so they're not overheating the cars, not pushing them to their limits, and have room to still pass in the draft. If it's an open setup series, however, drivers may have selected that so they have room to really get that big run and get past and get it done. But if I was one of those guys at the front, I might want to choose a shorter gear ratio if I know I can get to the front and stay there and kind of block off those runs that are coming.
Talking about the weather here, let's take a look at tonight's weather conditions presented by our friends at the Weather Center. Offensively accurate weather for eastern Pennsylvania. 72-degree ambient temperature. Wind's going to be, we'll call it out of the northeast at 7 miles an hour. 73-degree track temperature. It really not a lot to worry about in terms of overheating the motors. However, you can only stay in the draft for so long before that really wants to, start to blow these things up. You got to get some air into the front end.
Yeah, especially running at these speeds and running the engines these hard. Most NASCAR guys like to run their oil as close to pretty much engine explosion as possible. So they're going to be running the oil 260 to 270. That gives you about 10 degrees of oil temperature before that engine decides to turn itself into a grenade. So these guys really need to watch those temps. Now, I'm wondering if this is a fixed setup and they've got some tape off the car, you can get a lot more air into that nose and follow a lot closer for a lot longer.
Well,
if we can get another in-car shot and just maybe someone who's looking at the oil temps right now, maybe see about what they're running.
Let's take a look. Go to the cockpit view with Johnny Avila.
Unfortunately, we don't get to see the oil temperature.
No, we don't get to see that stuff. That's one of the things that iRacing hides.
Now, they do hide that. It's fair that they hide that because it keeps it fair for the competition. You can't just watch in on what someone else is doing and kind of guess their setup, how much tape they're running by what temperatures are showing up. So that's fair. I'll give it to them on that one.
Now, here's an interesting thing here, Patrick. We were hearing 37 was going to be almost an absolute maximum. We're already now on lap number 38. How many more laps do we think they can go here? I would imagine you're going to stretch it, but there's not a chance, I don't think, that you're going to get this car to 50 laps.
I'm not sure about that one. I remember being able... Now, I don't know how much more fuel these things use versus Gen 6 car. I remember being able to get like 46 to 52 on the Gen 6 car. I'm wondering if these drivers did what most drivers do and hide their strategy and just give you false numbers. As
maybe
we're
not.
saying that, they're coming down to the pits. Oh, man. Looks like someone's taking out the cone. More cone violence. That might even be a speeding penalty. Oh, man. All three of them looked like they were coming in hot on this one.
Yes, that was A.J. Digby getting in very quick out of the race lead. He's going to hit his marks.
Let's see how long his pit stop is.
Drivers were told they will have to make their pit stops from no more than 3 boxes they can drive through entering and leaving, and then they have to get out to the far right lane. Oh, and this is going to be a penalty for the 14 of Digby. Also looks like the 29 of Will Worsler. They're over 20 seconds in pit stop time. There's Johnny Avila already off of pit lane. Here comes the 45 of John Eckhart.
Unfortunately, that sucks for Johnny Avila, too, because even though he was going the speed limit, he was perfectly in the good. He's going to pass those 2 cars. He's lost all his help going back onto the racetrack. He's going to get freight trained, too. It's a 3-way penalty, and he wasn't even involved.
Seeing the comment coming in here from our buddy 90210 owned. What if you wanted to go to heaven, but God said the leader is on pit road? Oh, man, that's wide. That may be a pit exit violation as well for the 45 of John Eckhart.
You crossed that white line leaving the pits, you were going to have to come back down in the pit road and sit there for about 30 seconds doing absolutely nothing. That is unfortunate.
So now at the front of the field, Tony Patton, Richard Smith, 2 cars that stopped at lap number 3. They have remained out on the racetrack. They're going to get themselves out to, well, about 41, 42 or so. But now it is, I mean, huge gaps we're seeing here throughout the field.
I was going to say, what was one big pack race? I'm looking at our track map right now. There are cars in every corner of this speedway right now. The whole field is spread out.
Patton and Smith going to be able to stay out for at least one more lap. However, they will come in for their pit stop. Let's pick up Johnny Avila. 1.4 seconds ahead of Michael Whiting. Now, obviously, that 5-car pack will catch up to them pretty quickly here. That's Michael Whiting, Kevin Stone, Tim Knott, Carlos Acosta. I'll tell you what, though, if they're going to run side by side like this, they're going to get caught from behind.
Yeah, they need to all just get single file, start working with each other. And that group of 6, once they catch up to this car in front of them, will be able to freight train the whole field. As we now see your 2 leaders coming in the pit road, looks like the 23 is driving through all the boxes. I wonder if that's going to be an after-race penalty.
It very well could be. We'll see what race control has to say about that one.
And not to be a snitch here, but he did enter 4 boxes coming into his pit box.
So now back to the front of the field here. Kevin Stone going to be your race leader in the 17. Getting the big shove from Tim Knott. That's going to get them ahead of Johnny Avila.
Basically, if we don't get another caution, if these guys don't bin it up or don't get any pit road penalties, one of these 6 is going to be the winner of your race tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it looks like right now. They haven't yet passed the 2 cars exiting pit road, Richard Smith and Tony Patton. They're going to catch them.
Now, it's just a matter of, do they get single file and freight train them, or do we now have an 8-car pack for the win?
Looks like we're going to have the 8-car pack here based on what we're seeing. But, man, that 17 of Stone is coming in a hurry on the high side of the racetrack. The next car you find in line is going to be Tyler Seville, who is 17.5 seconds back. Yes, the question from 90210, or do they LePage the field? No, they didn't do that. I tell you what, fantastic strategy call by Richard Smith and Tony Patton. Able to stay out in front. And they are going to run at the front of the field here as we get close to the halfway point.
Now, one thing I'm loving that's shaking up the strategy of this race is 2 cars can maintain the same speed as a full pack of 6. Now, pack of 6 was driving side by side the whole time, but you get in a much bigger field, and maybe you don't have to worry about just you and one other person coming into the pits. As long as you both execute perfectly, you aren't going to lose nearly as much ground as you would have lost in the Gen 6 car or even the Gen 5 car.
And this group is catching up to Richard Fletcher and Will Worsler in a big-time hurry. Already, basically, they're going to be 1 lap down here with the penalty. First, they're going to have to get around the lap car of Jason Franks. So we got through the cycle of pit stops. No major carnage. Couple of cars having issues. A.J. Digby, one of them. Total time of the stop for Digby, he got, well, multiple penalties here. 1 minute, 25 seconds, the time of the pit stop for A.J. Digby. Will Worsler, 55.63 seconds.
I was going to say, I was looking at that. I wonder how bad A.J. Digby was speeding, because they do increase the penalties based on how long you were speeding in the pits and how fast you were going over the limit. I almost feel like he was going 25 or even 30 over, which you get a ticket like that driving your street car down the road. That's a pretty hefty fine, but even here, he was a lap down before the leaders even came to pass him, and he's going to go 2 laps down here pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can see the cars just up ahead here. That is Fletcher and Worstler leading, well, basically starting to drag along the race leaders. So this is going to be not even necessarily the battle to be the first car one lap down, but that honor currently going to belong to, actually right now it's A.J. Digby. So this is a pretty important fight here for Will Worstler to stay ahead of the race leaders. Richard Smith, Tony Patton. Patton, a rookie in the series. Checking my notes here. Yeah, Richard Smith, I believe, also a rookie here in the Sim Racing Club Premier Series. So side by side, they're now going to battle for the race lead into one.
I was going to say, I don't know what the rules or etiquette in this series is, but if I was those two lap cars, I'd be instigating a little bit. I'd be staying down on the bottom line, make those leaders pass me, hopefully getting a caution, leaving me the first car a lap down, and able to get myself back in the lead lap. As they are entering the Hornet's Nest.
Oh, man, what a pass. Man. What a move by Johnny Avila. He's going to go almost 3 for 1 into turn number 3. Uses that draft in a big way, put Johnny Avila back to the race lead.
And this is exactly what I mean by instigating. Just get yourself right in that pack. You're the first car a lap down, and try to get them the wreck for you.
Yeah, you need a caution, but you don't want to be the caution. The other thing about the Sim Racers Club is they have a strikes rule that is applied both in race and post race. 2 strikes, you're at least benched for a week, if not sent back down to the development series. So you can't necessarily be causing problems, but it does encourage hard racing.
Yes, it's exactly what I mean by instigate, too. You don't want to be throwing dirty blocks in leaders. That's just mean. But you do want to get yourself in that Hornet's Nest, still hold your line, allow them a route to go around you. But if they're 2-3 wide behind you, you definitely want to be in front of them and hope one of them sends it around behind you. And that's definitely a thought going through their heads right now. And as they're sitting behind them now, they're probably waiting for them to go too wide in front and hoping they start binning it in front of them.
So Richard Fletcher and Will Worstler back at the tail end of this lead draft. Problem they've got now is that Troy Haight is going to be the next car to come up to go a lap down, and he is not real far ahead of the race leaders. Just seeing him dip below the double yellow lines there exiting turn number 4. First retirement of the race has been registered. That is Taylor Klinker. He's going to lose 3 spots and finish tonight in the 15th position. I tell you what, Patrick, I'm kind of interested to see here that none of these cars towards the tail end of this line are getting out there to jump in with the lap car of Haight and really just trying to shove him up to the front of the field and just use the draft that he's going to provide. Everybody staying in line, getting clear down to the inside.
I was going to say, there's nothing to lose going with Haight. Even push him all the way to the front of the field, have him take that theoretical lead. And if he pushes and pulls you all the way to the front, you become the leader. There is no loss in that scenario. Either you're going to be at the back of that field and finishing 9th, 10th anyway, or you're going to follow him to the front and bring home a second or third, or hopefully even the win. I can't see why no one followed him up there. That's one of the big things you have to do as a plate racer on these tracks, is you have to weigh your risk versus reward. Obviously, it's the last lap. You're going to be as risky as possible trying to get that win. But right now, you get a very low-risk opportunity like that with a very high reward. It's silly not to take it, even to jump in front of him and try and have him push you up to the front. As we see another car diving high, is anyone going to follow him? It looks like someone was trying, but they're not going to get it done up there.
Yeah, now you're going to have to get 4 or 5 cars lined up here, I think, if you really want to make that power move. You almost wonder if you're Richard Smith and Tony Patton, you've had the pace, you got up to the front of the field through strategy, but you've stayed right where you are. Why not try some of that stuff here in race conditions? We didn't see a ton of pack drafting in practice. Not a real big idea of what these drivers may have late in the race.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see some absolutely crazy moves going on. And Richard Smith, Tony Patton, they look to be the only two in their little Discord channel. Those two can have great communication with each other. One big thing of having a ton of people all talking to each other and on the same alliance is everyone in that always wants to be number one. Where you can always, in a small one, have your number 1 guy, number 2 guy, we're going to work together, we're going to get ourselves a 1-2. Something bigger like that. Everyone is racing each other within that team. So I feel like there's not going to be as much teamwork and cooperation with those 6 as there is between these 2.
That's a great point. The Discord servers are great for communication, but sometimes it's possible to over-communicate things, and you can really start to just jumble up the strategies and quite frankly, start making unforced errors, especially at a plate track like this.
Not only that, but then you get the inside cues. I mean, if 2 people say, yeah, we're going to make a move towards the high side, and you're that 3rd guy, you're going to want to be the number 1 guy. So you're going to jump up, you're going to try and block their run and have them push you to the front, and it all just ends up with everyone's kind of strategy or fighting against each other instead of all working together to get a 1 through 6 finish. Now you have 2 guys getting 2nd, 3rd, and the rest of the field, rest of your team wrecking themselves out. That's why I'm always a big fan of the real small teams. Communication is key.
41 of Tim Knott trying to move up to the high side of the racetrack. Let's take a look here and see how long it takes this second line of cars to catch back up. Lap number 58 going onto the scoreboard. We've seen it several times this race. The second line is that far back, and all of a sudden, a lap and a half later, they've caught right back up again.
I was going to say, if this front pack keeps spreading out and trying to go too wide like this, that second pack is going to catch them by the end of this lap, and it already looks like they're going to. They've made up half the distance down this back straightaway alone. They all understand, need to cooperate, stay single file, work together just to catch back up that front pack, and then it's boys have at it once again.
Yeah, the question then becomes, can that second pack become a second lane and force their way around to the outside of the racetrack?
That takes a lot of cooperation. However, if that second lane, again, you have half the pack now. Actually, it's all one pack again. But if they can get a huge run back up on that top side, then you almost have the issue of now you have your front guys in the front pack jumping up to the high side, and all of a sudden you have 3 cars on the low line. And that's the real fun thing about this plate racing, is it's a whole big game of chess, and everyone's trying to work together and against each other at the same time.
Something else that I'm noticing here is in the Gen 6 car, we would see a lot of bump drafting and cars really able to suck up onto each other. Unless they're just laying back on the throttle a little bit, these cars are not tucked right up under the rear bumper of each other.
One comment I am going to bring up from practice is, I don't know who said it, but it made me laugh a little bit. It goes, I thought these Fords had flat bumpers so we could bump draft. And these guys, I mean, you can even see it a little bit here. These cars have rounded rear bumpers and rounded front bumpers, and you can't lock together like you could with the Gen 6 or the car tomorrow. I mean, it is very, very difficult to bump draft. From what we were seeing in practice, guys trying it and just going about half a lap and wrecking each other. I don't think bump drafting is going to be as big of a thing. I don't even think it's possible with these cars. I'm sure you're going to get Pro Series drivers trying it, and they'll figure out how to do it after 10,000 hours practice. But for your normal guys who this is a hobby and they're really good at it, but not spending 10,000 hours a day on it, I don't think bump drafting is possible in these cars.
Down to 40 to go here at the World Center of Speed, Daytona International Raceway. Chris Graham, Patrick Byrne with you on the call here of the first round of the Sim Racers Club Premier Series. 10 races over the next 10 weeks, and you're going to see every one of them live here Wednesday night, 9 p.m. in the East on NRN. Right now, everybody's behaving themselves, so shoot us comments here. Tell us where we're screwing up on the name pronunciations and everything else here. We honest to God, we're going to try to fix them. Let us know what you think of the show here. Hopefully you are enjoying it. Johnny Avila Avila, enjoying it. Sitting right here at the front of the field. Claiming his 7th career pole in the series, going for win number 4 in the Premier Series here tonight. And this is quite frankly how he wants to start the season off. Everybody wants to start the season with the win at Daytona.
Now, I'm curious if you have a stat somewhere in your file book for this. Has anyone who has won the Daytona 500 beginning the season in the modern era of NASCAR won the championship?
Yeah, Dale Jarrett comes to mind in 1999 as a one right off the top of my head. Jeff Gordon's done it. Jimmy Johnson's done it. The interesting part, though, is they typically don't lead from beginning to end. I don't think there's ever been a wire-to-wire champion here. We're seeing the lap cars of Richard Fletcher and Will Worsler pushing their way back to the front of the field. They're now going to be back on the lead lap, and they're bringing Carlos Acosta with them. So the 3 lap cars getting ahead of the race leaders. You almost wonder if that's just setting up pit strategy here. If you're Johnny Avila, why would you not want to run behind the lap cars and try to save yourself a handful of laps of fuel? Right now, 60, I don't know that 60, we're at 64. You might get to lap 100, but you may not get the green-white checkered.
Now, real quick, Carlos Acosta, your leader right now, wasn't he involved in that lap 1 incident?
Well, Carlos Acosta running second, yes, was involved in the lap 1 incident. That's actually Troy Haight that is just ahead of race leader Johnny Avila.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, I'm getting my numbers confused, but
90210, the answer to your question is no. Matt Kenseth did not lead wire to wire. In fact, only had 1 win in his championship season. That's how we got the chase and the playoffs and everything else. Was Kenseth won the either Rockingham or Atlanta, the 2nd or 3rd race of the year, and never saw victory lane again. Ryan Newman won 9 races that year and DNF'd out of twice as many and didn't win the championship. And it was a consistency thing that got Kenseth the championship. And that's how we got the chase and the playoffs and all that kind of stuff that we have now.
Now, real quick, while you mentioned Ryan Newman, during that 2014 year when they first introduced the playoffs, Ryan Newman made it to the Final Four and almost won the championship, not having a single race won in the season. In the format that was supposed to, you're win and you're in, you're kind of way in.
Yes, a format that was designed to reward winning at all costs nearly had a winless champion. And we have had one in this era. Austin Dillon did that in the Xfinity Series, winning that championship in the chase era without a victory. So now the question starts to become here, when do we see the pit stops? Do we see any more mistakes? And is somebody able to play the game and run just a little bit longer? Richard Smith and Tony Patton stopped at lap number 42. That strategy seemed to get it at least back in front of the field, and then they were able to maintain that track position. A great point here. 90210 saying then Matt Crafton did it twice. Yeah, he is a two-time winless champion in the Truck Series.
Big fan of Matt Crafton myself. I had no idea about that.
Well, you must not be that big of a fan of Matt Crafton then.
I have his fender sitting in like right next to me, but
oh, that's awesome. All right, taking a look here. Let's pull up the getting the schedule opened up here so we can take a look at where these guys are heading here over the next couple of weeks. One of the interesting things, Patrick, is next week they're going to run the cars of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. They alternate them each week. So one week's the Cup Series, the following week is the Xfinity Series. That just adds a whole nother level of complexity to the thought process on things.
not only that, these new Xfinity cars, I just had some recent experience with them running them at the road course of Watkins Glen. They took all the downforce out of those cars. Those cars are now a handful to drive. I would say they're 1,000 times harder to drive than the Cup cars ever were. They are on edge every moment of that race. And watching these guys try and drive those things is going to be fantastic. It almost feels like what a stock car should have felt like in the 70s before they started putting wings and stuff on them.
Next week, those Xfinity cars will take to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. That one's going to be fun. That place is bad fast. Following week, the Cup cars come back for a visit to Dover International Speedway, newly acquired by Speedway Motorsports, the organization owned by Bruton Smith and his family. Then the Xfinity cars are off to Auto Club before we hit the first off weekend of the season here on the first day of the month of February. We go Richmond, Las Vegas, Pocono, North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, and then Nashville Super Speedway to close out the season. A lot of fun coming up here for this Sim Racers Club Premier Series. Out to lap number 70. I don't think fuel is a concern at this point to make the end. Maybe not even for a green-white checkered finish at this point.
Yeah, I believe for this last one, now that everyone knows they're good to the end, I feel like we're going to see just about the whole field come to the pits. And knowing, being a commentator, whatever I say, they're going to do the exact opposite of. So
that is correct. The drivers that we broadcast have a spectacular habit of making you look and sound really, really dumb. We'll see what's going to come up here is lap 71. It's going to put you down to 30 to go. You can get to lap 38 to 42 or so. Basically what that tells me is you've got one green-white checkered in you, but maybe not the second or third attempt if it comes to that.
Which, as we see it, we have 3 cars down the pit lane. Seems like the same 3 as before. Hopefully none of those end up with a pit road speeding penalty this time around.
Yep, that's the lap cars. Will Worsler, Richard Fletcher, and Troy Haight all coming in down pit road at lap number 72. That would make sense to me. Try to get your pit service done before, that way if the leaders come back out, you're going to be able to cycle all the way around. Take the wave around, basically, when all the leaders come down pit road. But we'll see. I would think you're going to see them in the next lap or so. Will not be this time. Johnny Avila continues to lead, and he has led a significant number of laps here tonight. Taking a look at the numbers here on Johnny Avila. 396 laps led entering tonight out of 3,500 laps completed. Certainly knows how to keep the car at the front of the field when he gets it there, as they're going to start to catch up. Oh, they're making contact. Couple of cars heading down pit road. That's going to be Tim Knott, John Eckhart, and Kevin Stone. They'll make their way down pit lane.
I don't know who was almost spinning there, but I don't believe he meant to go to the pits. I think he was kind of just forced to go into the pits.
Yeah, I think that was Kevin Stone in the 17 that was absolutely flat sideways. Trying the undercut strategy here. We'll see who's going to come off of pit road first. For fresh Goodyear Racing Eagles, 2 cans, Sunoco Racing Fuel going in, that number 17. He is down and away. Looks like Tim Knott, unfortunately, going to serve a penalty. Upwards of 25 seconds. Time in the box now for Tim Knott in the number 41. Tough break for the Dallas, Texas native there. And you can see stopping early may have benefited these lap cars, because there's Will Worsler right back up in front of the leaders, right where he was before. So you're not necessarily going to lose a lap. You're just going to be very, very close.
Yeah, however, these guys haven't pitted yet. So they're going to gain that lost time on these guys as at least 3 of them start to come down the pit road.
Yep, there's Johnny Avila, Carlos Acosta, Michael Whiting.
Little bit of a tire walk up from Carlos Acosta. He seems to have entered some of those pit boxes. I again wonder if that's going to be a penalty or not. Or maybe that'll be assessed post-race.
Avila hits his marks in box number 1. Interesting here. It doesn't look like the car's going up on the jack here. This may be fuel only for Johnny Avila, and just enough to get to the finish. Avila, Whiting, and Acosta. Whiting coming around Avila on the exit of pit road.
Now, one thing to note, that wasn't our fastest pit stop of the sequence. That goes to John Eckhart. He had a 13-second pit stop. I wonder if he's got it all calculated out, knows exactly how much fuel he needs to make it to lap 100, and is banking on the fact that we don't have a green-white checkered.
I'll tell you what, Michael Whiting did him one better. 12.95 seconds the time of the stop for the number 44. That's how he came out ahead of the 63 of Johnny Avila. With nobody having issues getting on or off of pit road, looks like we may see something similar here with Richard Smith and Tony Patton. They're going to continue to stay out on the racetrack here. There's the bump draft you were talking about. That is a huge shove from Johnny Avila on Michael Whiting.
I was going to say, that was massive, and I've got my fingers crossed, holding my breath. From what I was hearing in practice, that is close to instant death. Oh, man, what a bizzle.
That was a big bizzle there by Johnny Avila. Now, what's interesting here, let's take a look at the front end of that number 63. You can see the rounded bumpers that Patrick was talking about. The front end of that car is spectacularly clean. Basically, you just have to be going in a straight line, and you can make the bump draft work.
I'd imagine with the rounded front and rear bumper of these cars, that's still got to get you squirrely going through the straights. I mean, instead of having a big flat surface to push that car with, you're now talking about 2 tiny little points of cars that are making contact. And you hit it just the wrong way, and you're going to send that guy in front of you spinning.
Yeah, you can't make any off-center contact. One of the things that they were trying to eliminate with the shark fin was the right rear contact that would turn the car around, because you would make a little bit of contact on the right rear, and the shark fin would catch the air and actually snap the car around. We're not seeing that here, but we're also not seeing Johnny Avila being too crazy aggressive here on the bump drafts either. At least not yet, anyway.
Yeah, it seems like he's just making a little tap here and there, not holding and kind of push drafting him the whole way around the track as we used to see. Now, before they changed the downforce packs on these cars, I heard some of the drivers talking about in testing how it almost felt like 2 and 3 car tandems were coming back. Which, as we're seeing right here, we got 3 cars, so I wonder if these 3 are just going to be able to pull their way around and pass the whole field. I don't think they're going to do it like that, though. They are all squirrely, all moving up the track.
Yeah, that's one of those you got to keep it in line. And I'll tell you what, Richard Smith and Tony Patton still have not come down pit road. Here they go. Now they're going to come down this time. Michael Whiting, Johnny Avila down the middle of the back straightaway at this point. If they're able to short pit and take almost no fuel, there you go. They're down and away. 9.6, 9.57 seconds, the time of the stop for Richard Smith and Tony Patton. If they got on and off of pit road cleanly without penalty, that could be the strategy call that wins this race. They're a full 3-4 seconds faster than everybody else.
So that's like the advantage I was talking about with the 2-car team. They were able to effectively give each other their fuel numbers, know what's good, know what's going to work, and take the exact same strategy. Both of them were about 9.6 seconds, and now they're back in a tandem and still ahead of the rest of the field.
They're back in the tandem, but that second group is closing quickly. Michael Whiting, Johnny Avila, John Eckhart. That's the 3 cars that are lined up. Actually, excuse me, there's a lap car in there. It's Whiting and Avila.
You were saying those numbers are moving quickly. I'm now looking at the numbers. Those numbers seem to be slowing down a lot. Now they're kind of locked at a 1.5 seconds. Oh no, Tony Patton looks like he's having a little bit of a connection issue. Blinking in and out. That's going to slow Richard Smith down a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of those that when the car blinks out like that, it does sort of affect the car in front and what kind of draft they're getting, because iRacing's computers and servers don't have the data of where the car is to process it.
Yeah, iRacing's prediction is really good. You can let your connection get pretty bad, and it'll still keep your car on track and kind of predict where it is. But once it gets bad enough, it just stops predicting where you are, and just to save everyone else from accidentally crashing into you. Thankfully, it just seemed like a quick little hiccup. Maybe someone else in the house logged into another service, started streaming some videos. Who knows? But he seems to be all right and moving on along now.
The gap is now down inside of a half second, though. Here comes Michael Whiting and Johnny Avila.
Are we going to see a huge move to the outside line, or are we going to see single file action some more? It does look like he's going to move to the outside. They are 2 by 2 now coming towards the front of the field.
This is going to be fun. They were joking about the 4-wide finish here. We may just see that at this point. Smith,
now, one thing that's
Whiting, Patton, Avila down the front stretch.
One thing that's going to hurt Whiting a little bit. Avila looked a little bit hesitant to move up to that high line. He isn't getting the full run he could have gotten if Avila just stuck with him the whole way through. They seem to be dropping back. It's going to look no one side by side anymore. So just that little hesitation is costing him at least taking over the lead on this lap.
Yeah, this is the one that's going to be interesting to watch. I would imagine Smith and Patton are going to play nice with each other at least a little while anyway.
I was going to say, if those two were working together, those two are going to play nice with each other until we come out of turn 4 on lap 100. And that's when you're going to see Tony Patton jump out to the high side. And we're either going to see one of those two win it, or they're going to get absolutely fright trained by Whiting and Avila behind them.
It's going to be 15 to go next time by. You wonder if Avila is completely comfortable with the driving that we're seeing here out of Michael Whiting in the 44. Whiting has run in the series in the past. Average finish of 22.5, average start of 22.3. If you're Johnny Avila and used to running at the front, Whiting might not be a guy that you're comfortable or at least very familiar running around.
Not only that, he's trying to make a move there on the high side. The 86 goes to block, but decides it's going to be smarter to stay to the bottom, just let him get hung out to dry and have him slot back in line. But even still, Michael Whiting, with his average finish being lower in the pack, I don't think he's going to make any huge moves here. I think he's going to play it smart, go a top 3 is a great finish for me. I'm going to finish here, and we're going to build our way up from this in the season. Whereas a guy like Johnny Avila, knowing what he can do, he's not going to want to settle for 4th or 3rd or 2nd. Knowing he's up there, there's only 4 cars up there, he's going to want to go take the win. He's going to be the one to watch and see if he makes a risky move.
Getting some big-time drafting help here from Tim Knott on the outside lane. He's going to be side by side with Tony Patton over the start-finish line. Give it to Avila that time by. Now Richard Smith may have to go into full-time blocking mode here.
No, Richard Smith needs to stay on the bottom line. He needs to work with his teammate and keep this going until we get to lap 100. Lap 100, those two teammates, boys have at it. But for now, these guys need to guarantee themselves a spot up front. They don't need to be making any stupid blocks, silly moves. They need to stay right where they are. It doesn't look like Johnny Avila has any help. Not a lot of help from Michael Whiting. Whiting is perfectly content sitting where he is right now. He might make a move as we get into the more closing laps of this race. But they don't need to be making silly blocks right now.
Don't look now. Here comes John Eckhart, Kevin Stone, and Carlos Acosta. They have made up a ton of ground. The gap is 2 seconds and shrinking here to the lead pack.
Knowing how these cars have raced all race, they are already part of the pack. You just don't see them in the frame yet.
Avila gets the good run on Patton. He's going to go for the lead as they get down towards 3.
I was going to say, those two split up, and now Avila is clear for the lead. All he has to do is dive down to the bottom, and he's got it. Looks like he's going to stay up high, try to pull Whiting up with him. Now he does it. Okay. It's going to leave Whiting hung out to dry as the Hornet's Nest is starting to develop. Those 3 behind them are starting to catch up to the back.
Gap that was 2 seconds last lap, now down to 1 1/4 and shrinking. It's down to 12 to go here at Daytona.
I was going to say, we're in the closing moments of this race, and it is about to get fantastic.
Let's reset the leaders for you here as they make their way down the back straightaway. Johnny Avila started on the pole for tonight's race. Richard Smith, hard charger, gaining 13 positions to run up in the 2nd position. Tony Patton is up 11. Michael Whiting up 9 to run in 4th. John Eckhart, Kevin Stone, Carlos Acosta not gaining as much, but it is game on. It is now a 7-car fight for the win.
Now, these guys fighting all like this, I'm almost wondering if the 23 and 86 have enough fuel to make it towards the end of the race. Did they get their numbers right, or have they stuck around in the front too much? They need to sit in the draft now. Is this all just a planned strategy call? There's so much at play that I'm just not sure of at this point. As they're making a huge run back down towards the inside. We now have side-by-side action, 3 rows back.
Johnny Avila trying to throw the block on Michael Whiting, but it was not successful. Whiting going to get the big run. He's going to be about half a car length short at the line, 10 to go.
No, Whiting took the lead at the line. Oh, this It's going to count as his first lap led in the series. I think. I haven't looked at the notes. But the inside line now getting another huge run. Johnny Avila now taking the lead.
That would be his 9th career lap led, by the way.
There we go. Getting more done, getting ever so closer to 10 laps led in the series. As we have a third pack of cars starting to catch this field.
Man, this is going to get good. At some point, you almost want to just settle down a little bit. Catch your breath, get in line. You know you're going to have a shot. Michael Whiting now all the way back to 6th position. You just almost need to, like, kind of settle yourself just a hair and say, okay, I'm not in any harm. But right now, Avila's losing the draft.
A little bit as they're going to catch up again to Jason Frank, still in damage control. Unfortunately, what happened to him on lap number 1, but I don't believe he has any incentive to block these leaders. He's going to move up to the high side.
Franks is only 5 laps down, and at this point in the race, you see the leaders junk themselves up. Jason Franks could end up easily with a top 10 finish here tonight, depending on how the leaders play nice with each other late.
I was going to say there's no incentive to block him, but now that you say that, there is a little incentive to have a couple cars at least total themselves. But he's going to be Mr. Nice Guy. He's going to move up to the high side. Big respect to him for doing that there.
Michael Whiting now 1 3/4 seconds back of this lead pack. He has absolutely lost the draft. And Carlos Acosta going to be coming up pretty quickly here. The next car on the lead lap is Tyler Seville. He is just now crossing the start-finish line, so he will not be a contender here. Seven to go at the World Center of Racing. My goodness, is this one going to be fun. 5 cars all in a line, 5 drivers all over 2,000 iRating, and every one of them with an A-class license. These guys know what they're doing, and this is about to get really, really good. Hall of Fame broadcaster Ken Squire would talk about common men doing uncommon things. It is not the same level of danger as driving a car in the real world, but it is absolutely an incredible skill set that these drivers possess. Johnny Avila, Richard Smith, Tony Patton, John Eckhart, Kevin Stone battling for the win at Daytona. Here comes the move to the outside by Eckhart. He wants a piece of third. Now the game is on.
Big bizzle by Johnny Avila. Holy cow. As we have Richard Smith now slotting in behind them. Those two are going to try and pull away from the field a little bit, but they're going to be sitting ducks out there. The pack comes try and catch up. Richard Smith is going to get freight trained around the outside. John Eckhart wants another piece of it. He's going to try and shove down to the inside. To the high side now. Johnny Avila has nothing to block for him. Side by side coming through turn number 2 down the back straightaway, and Eckhart has the advantage.
Eckhart going to be the leader by less than a car length here as they come down the back straightaway. 2 by 2 by 2. The battle for the win hits turn number 3. It's going to be Eckhart over Avila, Stone, Smith, and Patton.
Say Eckhart slided in right in front of him. He has the advantage now. He is in power for this pack.
Oh, what a save! What a save by Kevin Stone! Oh my goodness. But now we are down to 3 and 4 laps to go. Patton, Stone, and Acosta still have a shot, but they're going to have to get in line. We saw it. They're all in the shot right now. Cars were catching up without being in the shot. This is going to be a fun run down to the end here. Johnny Avila now has to decide when does he want to make the move. If he makes it too early, he's going to be a goner. But
He's
that's
too close to make the move. He's got to back out of it and try and get a good run. The only danger of backing out of it is now you're exposing yourself to those cars behind you. This new drafting package they got these new cars is a huge risk because the cars behind him are already caught up. He backs out of it now. He's a sitting duck. They're all single file, all bumping each other now. Oh man, this is death going into turn one. They all managed to keep it going straight.
3 to go. Eckhart, Avila, Smith, Patton, Stone. Even Stone still may have a shot at this. Currently now sitting about 9/10 of a second behind your race leader. May have lost the draft, and it could be a 5-car battle, but if they start getting side by side.
Avila is all over the back bumper of Eckhart.
He's the only driver we've seen really being aggressive with the bump drafts here tonight.
So we got 2 laps to go now. This is the last lap that a caution is possible. If it's going to come out, it's going to come out here with Avila trying something. Does he go for the bump down the back straightaway? Does he try to get the 45 just a little bit out of his shape, get him hung out to dry on the high side? It's a little too far away. Maybe he's trying to build up a run coming into turn number 3.
He's going to get the bump draft. He's got the bump draft from Richard Smith down the back straightaway. You almost wonder if that's too much help.
I see a little bit of lap traffic up ahead.
Avila doesn't want to make the move yet.
1 lap to go, lap traffic up ahead. This could shake the finish up heavily.
Eckhart going to hold the lead into turn number 1. Avila stays right there on the back bumper. You wonder if Smith and Patton aren't going to get hooked up here. They were backing out just a little bit. They're going to catch the lap traffic as well. Where does Avila attempt the pass? Here comes the move. Big shot up the outside by Richard Smith.
Oh, he backs out of it. I think that's game over for him. It's all Avila and Eckhart now. Avila goes to the high side.
Avila to the outside. He's going to have the run to the line. Johnny Avila wins at Daytona.
Wrecking across it.
Richard Smith gets second. John Eckhart, Tony Patton third and fourth. And they wad them up coming across the start-finish line. Oh, my goodness.
I can't wait to hear either side of that from Richard Smith or John Eckhart. Wow, what a finish.
I'll tell you what, it's almost like Smith was just going to be a sitting duck late there. You almost knew it was going to be happening. There is your race winner, Johnny Avila. Opens up the season with a win. The Toronto, Ontario, Canada native getting the win for Will Worsler Racing. Bulldog Roof Works on the roof of that car.
See a burnout for the fans in the stands. Wow. What a finish. Goes for the move and ends up getting it done coming down the tri-oval. Just absolutely fantastic. Typical Daytona. Everything you could want from one of these races.
They're going to get everybody lined up here for the victory lane photos. There's Will Worsler, the car owner on that team. Let's take a look at the final race results here this evening. Johnny Avila getting the win by, we'll call it a tenth, a hair over a tenth, over Richard Eckhart at the line. Excuse me, Richard Smith second, John Eckhart coming home in the third position. Tony Patton going to be fourth. Look at that. That's how you square them up for the broadcast. Tony Patton comes home fourth. Carlos Acosta in the fifth position. Michael Whiting sixth. Kevin Stone seventh. Tyler Seville eighth. Tim Knott comes home ninth, and Will Worsler rounds out the top 10. Knott and Worsler both finishing one lap down. Richard Fletcher, Troy Haight, And A.J. Digby also finishing 1 lap down. Jason Franks coming home 4 laps behind the race leaders. And Taylor Klinker rounds out the field 62 laps down. Oh, my goodness. We're going to get the victory lane interviews set up here. Have to find Richard Smith here. There he is. We'll get him up here and ready to go in the booth. And tell you what, though, we are going to kick things off with your race winner here this evening. Let's bring him into the booth here for the victory lane interview. Johnny Avila, congratulations. I tell you what, man, the car was fast in practice. You sat on the pole. You win the race. Ho-hum, boring night, nothing going on, right?
Oh, yeah, just another day in the office, you know? Oh, shoot. This draft package, it's hit and miss sometimes. You really need aggressive drivers to make things interesting or make moves, and luckily we had a lot of guys willing to push, make moves, so it made for a fun race and was pretty clean out there too.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun to watch. It seemed like the middle of the race, kind of as typical at a super speedway, you got to make sure you're there at the end. No sense getting out of line and being crazy. And then all of a sudden we hit 10 to go when it was like, okay, we got a 5-car battle. Now we've got an 8-car battle. Then you guys are pinballing off each other. Talk us through that last handful of laps there.
Well, right after the pit cycles, we kind of got really strung out. And I knew since we had a smaller amount of cars right there, I wanted to try and make my move to get up front there. Because being up front, you can dictate a lot. And then just as the run went on, more and more cars started showing up to party. And then right there on the last lap, I saw the guys behind me starting to check up. And I was like, no, don't leave me out. So I checked up with them and then sort of used them to help me get a run on John and just nick him right there at the end.
Never in a million years would you think a racetrack that you're traveling at 200 miles an hour is slowing down and backing up the key to success. But ultimately, it was that big gutsy move to the outside off of turn number 4. It seemed like you had the move plotted out in your head. Was it just a matter of saying not too soon, not too soon?
Yeah, you had to make sure you timed it just right, because if I pulled out too soon, the guys behind me would have went low and I would have been done for. So I was lucky enough to just time it just good enough.
Well, congratulations, picking up win number 4 in your career here in the Sim Racers Club. And you're starting off the season in a very big way. Congratulations on that. And before we let you go here, let's make sure we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Well, I got to thank my main sponsor. They're brand new for this season for me. Bulldog Roofing Works. I'm really glad to have them on my car. It's always nice having people support. And then I got to thank Sam for putting this together. It took a lot of work with some stuff that went on, and the fact that he's keeping it rolling, and now we got you guys up in the booth. I'm excited to watch this race back and see how you guys did.
All right, bud. Well, thank you very much. We're looking forward to that, and congratulations once again on the win here. Let's bring in the runner-up finisher here tonight, Mr. Richard Smith. And I'll tell you what, man, the car, again, kind of same thing to Johnny here. The car looked very good. Ultimately, it seemed like it was the strategy call that you and Tony made at the first set of pit stops that really got you up to the front. And at that point, you guys were able to just keep a hold of the track position.
Oh, 100% agree with you there. The strategy call when it came down to fuel mileage, I mean, these tracks, any super speedway, and that includes Michigan, is really about how you're going to handle your fuel mileage and where you're going to end up on the pit. So when we decided to pit, we decided to squeeze everything we had left up until the last half gallon. And to be brutally honest, on the first stop, I thought we had it. On the second stop, I was even more confident when I saw that we had a 3.5 or 3.3 second lead. But then I started to see it disappear, and Tony called it out, saying, "No, Rich, they've got 3 cars. We're only 2." And I said, "Darn, with this draft package, there's power in numbers. Let's just call it that."
Yeah, that was one of the interesting things to watch develop, was how the package seemed to play out. Was you could be, I mean, we joked about being outside the shot, but you could be a second and a half, almost 2 seconds back. So long as the line of cars stayed in line, you could catch an equally matched group ahead of you.
Oh, 100%. And that's the fun part about this car. I know a lot of people, when you're driving in official races, last week at Talladega and previous weeks at Daytona, a lot of people complain about it. But it really challenges the driver, and it really challenges teamwork and organization. And, I mean, us at Showtime Racing, we've got that with both Tony and I, and it's a shame. We don't know the other drivers. This is our first year in this Sim Racers Club league. So getting to know the other drivers, maybe we can make some team affiliations somewhere down the line, do some Toyota work maybe with other Toyota drivers. But for now, I got to admit, it was a lot of fun.
Well, it was a fantastic showing here, obviously picking up a good second-place finish. Your debut here in the series was pretty impressive. Congratulations on the runner-up finish here tonight. Make sure we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in before we let you go.
By all means, and as I told Sam earlier, I apologize. I'm still running my official series, Bubba Wallace 23 paint scheme for 2311, but I want to thank Guaranteed to my fiance and business owner, Chantal Dumont, RMT. I definitely want to thank a number of groupings from Brandon Weeks to Lori Rail and the organizations that they support. Inverts Bay here in the Ottawa-Gatineau area, #1 place for your saltwater needs, Guaranteed. And without question, again, my fiance, a big thank you to her. My daughter, they were both watching upstairs, and she's actually watching, right beside me here at the same time. I want to thank my family, my friends. Pete, I appreciate him on Facebook giving us the plug and showing us support. And without a doubt, last but not least, Tony Patton, TJ, best teammate. And we were actually football teammates for years, and we've grown up from, let's say, boys to men to be wicked iRacing teammates and just great friends in life. So I couldn't have done this without him. So a big shout out to him. Great teammate in Showtime Racing.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. We appreciate you checking in with us here. And last one we got to bring in here, going to be third place, John Eckhart. I'll tell you what here, bud, that was a pretty darn good show that you put on here. You had the lead at 1 to go. Did you feel a little bit like you were going to be a sitting duck there?
Yeah, I felt there was 2 lap cars in front, and I was just praying if I could catch their draft, I know I've got it, because if you've got push from behind and a draft up ahead, you're not going to get past. And on the backstretch, I thought Avila was holding back enough that he might not get the run, but credit to him, that move on the outside of 4, that gave me no reaction time, and I was a sitting duck at that point.
All in all, not a bad night. You ended up losing second at the line to Richard here. Talk us through that little bit. You guys were getting handsy with each other coming to the line.
Yeah, once I knew I lost the win, the next thought that came through my mind is just come across the line facing forward. Don't wreck it. Don't throw away a podium, second or third. You're not taking home the trophy either way. So, we got a little close there, but fortunately our cars separated after the start-finish line, so it all worked out in the end for us. We're all competitive at the end of the day, though.
Yes, that race was a ton of fun for us to get to call here. And taking a look at some of the numbers here, this really is kind of one of those races it feels like could be a good jumping-off point for you here. Career average finish of 16 and change, coming home with a good third-place finish tonight. Not a bad way to kick off the season.
No, not at all. This league is I've definitely gotten much better driving from this league, so it's great racing with these guys week in and week out, and I'm hoping to use this to build off this, get some momentum moving forward this season.
All right, John. Well, once again, congratulations on the podium finish here tonight. Let's make sure we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in here before we let you run.
Yeah, I got to thank Pixelated Sim Sports, Gunskins, Sim Speed Shop, Sam and Jordan for running this league. I got to thank Kevin and Tim, I wouldn't have gotten the lead without Kevin Stone there, and Tim Knott was helping them run side by side, which allowed us from 5 seconds back to even make it a 5 and 8 car pack at the end. Just a fun race, really fun to be a part of it. Hopefully you guys had fun calling it in the booth upstairs.
Absolutely, we did. Thank you very much, sir. And I tell you what here, Bizzle, that was a hell of a show that these guys were putting on for us, and now we're going to get to do a bunch more of it, too.
I was going to say, usually you go to Daytona, and it's like, oh, we're going to have single file racing for 90 laps, and then you're going to get amazing at the end. But this race, even when they were single file, the excitement level were still high. It wasn't like we had a boring race, even though you saw a caution-free race. Caution-free doesn't mean boring. And this race was fantastic from flag to flag, and I am excited to see what this series holds for the next 10, 12 or so weeks.
Yeah, coming up 10 races over the next 12 weeks. Atlanta Motor Speedway and the cars of the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be next on deck for the Sim Racers Club. A lot of stuff coming up here on the National Racing Network for our newer viewers. Hopefully you're going to hang out with us and enjoy the show. Coming up tomorrow night, we've got a doubleheader for you. The Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar Series going to run round 13 of their schedule, heading to the Kansas Speedway Roval, which is a really unique layout. Then we're going to follow it up with round 4 of the 2022 Season 1 Indy Pro 2000 Championship from the Brands Hatch Circuit. Monday, the Silver Crowns head off to Gateway, and Tuesday we're right back with the Tear It Up Tuesday series presented by Snydersville Raceway. Round number 5 for the big blocks versus 358s heads off to Lanier National Speedway down there in Georgia. If you like it on iRacing, you're going to find it here on NRN.
All right, do we want to place bets here? Will I flip another modified at Lanier?
Yes, you will. Undoubtedly, he will flip a modified. Driving the 6D9 for our friends at the Weather Center. Looking forward to that. As always, just a ton of fun getting to talk about the iRacing stuff. Real world racing coming up as well. We will have wall-to-wall coverage of the Chili Bowl Nationals all over the National Racing Network social platforms as well as nationalracingnetwork.com. For Patrick Byrne and everybody here at NRN, this has been a wild night of racing and a ton of fun to call. Looking forward to next week. But until then, we will see you all later. Have a good night, everybody.